The gentle hum of the UES Thunderchild's bridge was broken by an urgent beeping from the communications console. Officer Mike Reed straightened in his chair, his fingers dancing across the holographic display as he filtered through the incoming transmission. The signal was weak, distorted by distance, and what appeared to be deliberate interference. "Captain Stone," Mike called out, his voice steady despite the growing concern in his eyes. "You need to hear this." Captain Jack Stone rose from his command chair, his tall frame casting a shadow across the bridge's main display. At 53, his hair had gone completely gray, but his eyes retained the sharp focus that had earned him command of one of Earth's most advanced warships. The message crackled through the bridge speakers. "To any civilized species who can hear us, please, the raiders have returned. Our cities are falling. They care nothing for the lives they destroy, only for the light we produce. We cannot survive another harvest. We are the Gossamer, and we beg for aid." The message repeated, growing weaker with each cycle. Stone's jaw tightened as he listened to the desperation in the alien voice. "Location?" he asked. "Silk Nebula." "Sir," Mike replied. "About 3 days at maximum safe speed." Stone nodded slowly. The Silk Nebula was outside Earth's usual patrol routes, but still within reach. More importantly, it was in a region known for its low-gravity worlds, homes to species that had evolved in environments humans would consider barely more than 0G. "What do we know about the Gossamer?" Stone asked, turning to the science station. Dr. Emma Reed, the ship's xenobiologist, pulled up her databanks. "Fascinating species, Captain. They evolved in a 0.3G environment. Their bodies contain crystalline structures that generate natural bioluminescence. It's how they communicate. Completely peaceful civilization, no natural defenses. They've never developed weapons because they've never needed them, until now." "And these raiders?" Stone's voice carried a hint of steel. "Reports suggest they're harvesting the Gossamer's bioluminescent tissues for the luxury market." Emma replied, her disgust evident. "The process is fatal to the Gossamer, of course, but their light crystals fetch high prices in certain circles." Stone paced the bridge, his footsteps heavy in the artificial gravity. As a species that evolved on Earth, with its crushing 1G gravity and extreme weather, humans were considered Deathworlders by much of the galaxy. Their bodies were built to endure pressures that would shatter most alien species. "Send a message to Fleet Command," Stone ordered. "Request permission to investigate the distress call." The response came faster than expected, and it wasn't what Stone wanted to hear. The Admiral's hologram flickered to life on the bridge. "Denied, Captain," Admiral White said firmly. "The Silk Nebula is outside our jurisdiction. We have non-interference protocols to consider. The last thing we need is to start a diplomatic incident." Stone felt his teeth grind. "Sir, with respect, we're talking about genocide for profit. The Gossamer are being harvested like crops." "I understand your concern, Captain." The Admiral's voice softened slightly. "But we can't be the galaxy's police force. Submit a report to the Galactic Council. Let them handle it through proper channels." "The Council?" Stone couldn't keep the bitterness from his voice. "By the time they convene a committee to discuss the possibility of forming an investigative panel, the Gossamer will be extinct." There was a long pause. The Admiral studied Stone's face carefully. "You feel strongly about this?" "Sir, humanity joined the galactic community promising to be a force for good. What's the point of all our strength, all our technology, if we don't use it to protect those who can't protect themselves?" Another pause, longer this time. Finally, the Admiral sighed. "I'll give you 48 hours to assess the situation. Observe only, Captain. Do not engage unless directly threatened. Is that clear?" "Crystal clear, sir. Thank you." Stone turned to his crew as the Admiral's hologram faded. "Plot a course for the Silk Nebula, maximum safe speed, and send word to any Earth ships in the region. I have a feeling we're going to need them." As the Thunderchild's engines roared to life, Stone watched the stars blur on the main display. Humanity had spent centuries wondering if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew they weren't alone. And with that knowledge came responsibility. If being a Deathworlder meant anything, it meant having the strength to protect those who had evolved in gentler worlds. The ship accelerated toward the Silk Nebula, carrying with it humanity's capacity for both war and mercy. They had 48 hours to save a species. Stone intended to make every second count. The UES Thunderchill dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Silk Nebula. The view that greeted them through the main display made even the seasoned bridge crew fall silent. Floating cities drifted through the colorful gases of the nebula, their crystalline structures catching and reflecting the light of distant stars. But many of these once beautiful structures were now broken, their surfaces cracked and dark. Ships moved between them, ugly, practical vessels with cutting tools mounted on their hulls. Raiders, Lieutenant Tom Brooks said from his tactical station, his voice hard. I count 15 harvest ships. No heavy weapons, but they're carrying military-grade shields. Captain Stone studied the scene, his expression grim. Life signs. Scattered readings from the cities. Emma reported from her science station. The Gossamer are retreating to the core structures. But their numbers. She paused, swallowing. They're less than half what our database says they should be. A new ship appeared on their sensors, larger, more polished than the others. Its design marked it as belonging to one of the civilized spacefaring races. We're being hailed, Mike announced. It's the Overseer vessel. Stone nodded. On screen. The alien that appeared was tall and thin, its skin a pale blue. It wore elaborate robes that marked it as a member of the Galactic Council's merchant class. Greetings, Earth vessel, it said smoothly. I am Overseer Tal. I'm afraid you've wandered into an authorized resource collection operation. Nothing here requires your attention. Stone kept his voice level. We received a distress call. Ah, Tal's expression didn't change. The local fauna can be quite clever with their light signals. But I assure you, this is all perfectly legal. We have permits. Emma stood up from her station, unable to contain herself. They're not fauna. The Gossamer are sentient beings. Dr. Reed, Stone said quietly, and she sat back down, though her hands were shaking with anger. He turned back to the screen. Overseer, we'd like to inspect the nearest city. Standard diplomatic protocol. Of course. Tal waved a hand dismissively. Though I warn you, the local gravity is quite low. Dangerous for beings of your mass. The communication ended, and Stone immediately turned to Emma. Doctor, what are we really dealing with? Emma pulled up her scans on the main screen. The Gossamer's crystal biology makes them incredibly fragile in our terms. They evolved in this nebula, using their bioluminescence to communicate through the gases. They're cities. She pointed to the floating structures. They're not just buildings. They're part of the Gossamer's life cycle. Destroying them is like destroying their nurseries. Can they be moved? Evacuated? Not easily. Their biology is linked to the nebula's unique radiation patterns. But she paused, thinking. We might be able to create safe zones using our artificial gravity systems, if we can calibrate them precisely enough. Lieutenant Brooks spoke up from tactical. Captain, I've been analyzing their harvest chips. They're using old Crackstone-class hulls, designed for low-G environments. One good hit in Earth-standard gravity would crush them. Stone nodded slowly, an idea forming. And they're not expecting us to intervene. We're just observers, after all. He turned to his crew. I want options. Dr. Reed, work with engineering to modify our gravity plating. Lieutenant Brooks, map out every structural weakness on those harvest chips. Officer Mike, get me a secure channel to the other Earth ships in the region. Sir, Mike looked up from his console. 2 more ships just arrived. The UES Warrior and UES Defiant. Captain Wells and Captain Miller send their compliments and await your orders. A small smile crossed Stone's face. Trust had always been humanity's real strength. Trust in each other. Trust in doing what was right. "Send them our scans," he ordered, "and tell them to prepare for rescue operations. We're not leaving until every surviving Gossamer is safe." He looked out at the broken cities, at the raiders moving between them like vultures. "We have 24 hours before Fleet Command expects a report. Let's make them count." The crew moved with new purpose, each to their tasks. Outside, through the gases of the nebula, a faint light pulsed from one of the cities, patterns of hope and fear mixed together. The Gossamer were still alive, still fighting in their own way. And now they weren't fighting alone. The first shot came as a surprise, not to the humans, but to the raiders. The UES Thunderchild's gravity pulse hit the nearest harvest ship like a hammer, crushing its low-G hull as Earth normal gravity slammed into it. The ship crumpled like paper, its crew scrambling for escape pods. "Direct hit," Lieutenant Brooks reported with satisfaction. Their shields were calibrated for energy weapons, not gravitational attacks. Captain Stone watched as the UES Warrior and UES Defiant moved into position, creating a triangle around the largest cluster of Gossamer cities. Status of the evacuation. "Dr. Reed's team has secured the first city," Mike reported. "The modified gravity plating is working. We're moving Gossamer civilians to the safe zones now." Overseer Tal's face appeared on the main screen, his calm facade cracking. "This is an outrage. You have no authority." "We have every authority," Stone cut him off. "The Gossamer sent a distress call, and we are responding under Article 7 of the Galactic Charter, protection of endangered sentience. You're just Deathworlders." Tal spat the word like an insult. "Brutal creatures, whoa." The rest of his words were lost as the raiders finally organized their response. Energy beams lanced out from their ships, lighting up the nebula gases in brilliant colors. They splashed harmlessly against the Earth ship's kinetic barriers. "Return fire," Stone ordered calmly. "Minimal force. We want to disable, not destroy." The battle that followed was unlike anything the raiders had experienced. Earth ships, designed for combat in everything from gas giants to asteroid fields, moved with a precision that seemed impossible for their size. Their gravity weapons turned the raiders' own environment against them, creating pockets of crushing force that bent metal and broke engines. In the cities themselves, human Marines moved in specially designed suits. What would have been awkward and bulky in normal gravity became an advantage in the low-G environment. Raiders who had fought their light weapons would be enough found themselves facing armored soldiers who could leap enormous distances and punch through walls. "Sir," Mike called out, "incoming transmission from the third city. Audio only." A raider's panicked voice filled the bridge. "They're impossible. Our guns don't stop them. We hit one directly, and it just kept coming. Like some kind of monster." The transmission cut off. Stone smiled grimly. "Send to all raider ships. This is your only warning. Power down and prepare to be boarded, or we'll be forced to increase gravity to Earth normal levels throughout the combat zone." The effect was immediate. 3 harvest ships shut down their engines. Then 5 more. The raiders had finally realized what it meant to face humans in combat. Their weapons, designed for low-G warfare, were useless against creatures who had evolved on a world that would crush most species. "Captain," Emma's voice was excited. "The Gossamer, they're responding to our presence. Look." On the main screen, the gases of the nebula lit up with patterns of blue and gold light. The Gossamer were communicating, their natural bioluminescence pulsing in waves that spread from city to city. "Translation coming through," Mike said. They're singing, sir, a song of gratitude. And," he paused, checking his readings, "they're calling us the strong, gentle ones." Stone felt something tight in his chest loosen. Humanity had spent so long worrying that their nature as Deathworlders made them monsters in the galaxy's eyes. But here, in this moment, their strength had found its purpose. "Sir," Brooks called out, "Overseer Tal's ship is charging weapons." "Let them," Stone said calmly. "Warrior and Defiant have them surrounded." And I think it's time we showed them exactly why Earth is classified as a death world. The Overseer's ship fired, a full barrage of energy weapons that would have vaporized any low-G vessel. The Thunderchild's kinetic barriers flickered briefly, and then Stone gave the order. Gravitational pulse, full Earth normal. Let them feel what we live with every day. The pulse hit, and Tal's ship buckled under forces it was never designed to handle. Systems failed, artificial gravity went dark, and the mighty Overseer vessel hung helpless in space. Around them, the Gossamer continued their light song, turning the nebula into a cathedral of color. Humanity had proved itself not through destruction, but through protection. The galaxy would remember this day, not as the day they feared Deathworlders, but as the day they understood why such strength had evolved in the first place, to protect those who needed it most. Intelligence Officer Kate Miller stood in the captured Overseer's ship, her tablet computer scanning through files as fast as it could decrypt them. The ship's interior was a mess. The gravity pulse had torn through cabinets and storage units, scattering data crystals everywhere. But that had made her job easier. In their panic to evacuate, the crew had left everything behind. "Captain Stone," she called over the comm. "You need to see this. Now." Stone arrived 20 minutes later, ducking through the Overseer ship's low doorways. "What did you find?" Kate's face was grim as she projected her findings onto the wall. "It's not just the Gossamer. Look at these trade routes." Red lines appeared across a map of the galaxy. Every single one leads to a low-gravity species, and every single one has seen mysterious population declines in the past 10 years. Stone studied the map, his jaw tightening. "How many species?" 17 that I can confirm. All peaceful. All with some unique biological feature that's valuable on the luxury market. She pulled up more files. The Gossamer's light crystals are just the latest product. Before this, it was the Rainbow People's color-changing skin. Before that, the Dreamweaver's neural tissues. "The Council must know about this," Stone said, but Kate was already shaking her head. "They don't just know, sir. They're part of it." She brought up another document. "These are shipping permits signed by Council members. Bank accounts showing profit sharing. They're not just looking the other way. They're actively helping." Stone read through the documents, his expression growing darker with each page. "How high does this go?" 6 Council members out of 12, mostly from high-gravity worlds themselves. Kate's fingers flew across her tablet. "They've been systematically targeting species that can't fight back. The Gossamer were just unlucky enough to have something valuable in their bodies." A message flashed on Stone's communicator. "Admiral White requesting an update." Stone looked at the evidence in front of him, then at Kate. "How long to copy all of this?" "Already done, sir. And I've sent backup copies to both the Warrior and Defiant. They can't erase this." Stone nodded and opened the channel to Admiral White. The Admiral's hologram appeared, looking concerned. "Captain, your 48 hours are almost up. What's your status?" "Sir," Stone straightened. "We've discovered evidence of Council involvement in genocide for profit, requesting permission to extend our mission and contact Earth's government directly." The Admiral's face went pale. "That's a serious accusation, Captain." "Yes, sir, and I can prove every word." Stone gestured, and Kate sent a small sample of their evidence. The Admiral read in silence for several long moments. "This will cause a diplomatic crisis," he said finally. "With respect, sir, we're past diplomacy. They're harvesting sentient beings for luxury goods, and if we don't stop it, the Gossamer won't be the last." More silence. "Then, you have full authority to proceed, Captain. I'll contact Earth government myself. But be careful, if half the Council is involved, the other half might be too scared to help." "Thank you, sir." Stone ended the transmission and turned to Kate. "Get me everything you can on Council ship movements. If they think we're going public with this." "They might try to clean up the evidence," Kate finished. She was already working, including the Gossamer. Stone's communicator beeped again. Emma from the science team. Captain, we've got movement. 3 large ships just entered the nebula. Council markings. Not cleanup crews, Kate said, reading her screens. Warships, heavy ones. Stone smiled, but there was no humor in it. They're used to fighting low-G species. Let's show them what happens when they pick on someone their own size. He opened a channel to all 3 Earth ships. Battle stations, and get word to Earth. We're going to need more ships. The Council warships drew closer, their weapons charging. But they were about to learn what the raiders had already discovered, that humans didn't earn the title of Deathworlders by being easy to intimidate, and now they had something worth fighting for. The real battle for the galaxy's soul was about to begin. The bridge of the UES Thunderchild was crowded with holograms. Captain Stone stood in the center, surrounded by the flickering images of other ship captains, not just humans now, but other Deathworlders who had answered their call. The Council ships will be in firing range in 6 hours, Stone explained, pointing to the tactical display. We've confirmed they're loaded with troops. They're not here to talk. The largest hologram, showing a massive bear-like creature in a military uniform, growled in response. Good. The Ursan Empire has watched these Council weaklings prey on others for too long. Our ships will arrive in 4 hours. The Draconid fleet stands with Earth as well, another captain announced, her scaled face catching the light. We remember when they call us too aggressive to join their council. Now we know why. Stone nodded gratefully. When Earth had sent out the evidence of the Council's crimes, they'd expected some support. But this was more than support. It was an alliance of the strong, coming together to protect the weak. Captain, Mike called from his station. New signal from the surface. The Gossamer, they're showing us something. The main screen lit up with patterns of light, pulsing through the nebula gases. Emma worked quickly to translate. They're sharing their records, she said, excitement in her voice. Stories passed down through light patterns. Other species that were attacked, but managed to send some of their people into hiding. Survivors. The bear-like Ursan commander leaned forward. How many? At least 3 species, Emma replied. Hidden in places the Council ships can't easily reach. Deep gravity wells, gas giant storms. Places only Deathworlders could help them reach. Stone finished. Places we could protect them. The Draconid captain's tail swished. My people know all about hiding from those who would hunt us. We can offer sanctuary. More ships were arriving now. The tactical display showed vessels from a dozen different high-gravity worlds, each answering Earth's call. Species that had been dismissed as too violent or too aggressive by the Council were proving to be exactly what the galaxy needed. Lieutenant Brooks updated the combat projections. Sir, with our combined forces, we now outnumber the Council ships 3-1. Numbers aren't everything, Stone cautioned. They'll have the latest weapons, the best shields. The Ursan commander laughed, a deep rumbling sound. Let them come with their fancy toys. They've spent too long fighting those who cannot fight back. They've forgotten what real battle feels like. Kate's voice came over the comm from the intelligence center. Captain, I've finished analyzing their command codes. When they attack, I can disrupt their communications. They won't be able to coordinate. Stone looked around at the assembled captains, human, Ursan, Draconid, and others, each from worlds that had forged them strong, worlds that had taught them the value of fighting to protect others. We're about to change the galaxy, he said simply. After today, no one will dare prey on peaceful species again, not with all of us standing watch. The Draconid captain bared her teeth in what might have been a smile. Perhaps this is why we evolved on harsh worlds. Not to conquer, but to protect. Through the ship's windows, Stone could see the Gossamer cities glowing with renewed hope. Their light patterns had changed from fear to something stronger. They were no longer just victims waiting to be saved. They were showing their rescuers where to find others who needed help. Battle stations, Stone ordered, and the command was repeated in a dozen languages across 100 ships. Form up around the Gossamer cities. We hold here. The Council warships would arrive expecting to find a few Earth ships they could bully into submission. Instead, they would face the combined might of the galaxy's Deathworlders, species who had been dismissed as barbarians, now united in the most civilized cause of all: the protection of those who needed it most. The first shots of the battle lit up the nebula like a newborn star. Council warships emerged from lightspeed, their weapons already firing. But they found no easy targets. Instead, they faced a wall of Deathworlder ships, arranged in a formation that protected the Gossamer cities behind them. Enemy ships have entered the kill zone, Lieutenant Brooks announced calmly. All ships reporting ready. Captain Stone stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display as it tracked hundreds of ships moving into position. Execute Operation Safeguard. All ships, deploy gravity nets. The Deathworlder fleet responded as one. Hidden projectors activated, creating a web of overlapping gravitational fields. Council ships suddenly found themselves being pulled in multiple directions, their crews struggling against forces they'd never trained for. They're trying to break through Sector 7. The Ursan commander reported, trying to reach the Gossamer cities directly. Not happening, Stone replied. Draconid squadrons, execute flanking maneuver Delta. Show them why evolution made you so fast. The Draconid ships moved like lightning, their crews unbothered by the high G-turns that would have knocked out most species. They struck the Council ships from behind, their weapons targeting engines and shield generators with surgical precision. Inside the protected zone, something unexpected was happening. The Gossamer, led by Emma and her science team, had turned their city's natural light-producing abilities into a weapon. Bright pulses of coordinated light flashed through the nebula, dazzling and confusing the Council ship's sensors. "Sir," Kate called from her station, "their command codes are compromised. Their communications are breaking down." The Council fleet's formation began to fall apart. Ships designed for intimidating peaceful species found themselves facing opponents who had evolved on worlds with twice, even 3 times standard gravity. Every maneuver the Deathworlders made was a demonstration of power that had been earned through millions of years of evolution. Multiple Council ships powering down, Brooks reported. They're surrendering. But the Council Admiral's flagship pressed forward, gathering its remaining ships for one final push. Their main weapon began to charge, a planet killer designed to harvest entire worlds. "All ships, clear the center lane," Stone ordered. Then, Engineer Wells, is our surprise ready? "Yes, sir," Wells replied from engineering. Gravity pulse weapons modified exactly as the Gossamer showed us. Their light crystal technology makes one hell of a focusing lens. "All ships, fall back to minimum safe distance," Stone commanded. The Allied fleet pulled away, leaving what looked like an empty corridor straight to the Gossamer cities. The Council flagship took the bait. It charged forward, its main weapon glowing with deadly energy. At the last possible moment, Stone gave the order. Now, every Gossamer city lit up at once. Their crystalline structures, previously thought fragile, focused and amplified the gravitational pulse from the Earth ships. The combined force created a gravity wave unlike anything ever seen in the galaxy. The Council flagship froze in space as if it had hit a solid wall. Metal screamed as the ship was caught between normal space and a gravity field that made Earth look weightless. Systems failed, weapons powered down, and the mighty flagship hung helpless in space. "Enemy flagship disabled," Brooks announced, unable to keep the satisfaction from his voice. "Remaining Council ships are standing down." Stone opened a channel to the Allied fleet. "All ships, begin recovery operations. Secure the prisoners. And get me a channel to Earth. They'll want to know that the Council's genocide program has been stopped." Through the main viewport, Stone watched as rescue ships began helping the surrendered crews. The Gossamer cities glowed with victory lights, their patterns showing not just joy but pride. They had learned to fight back in their own way. The Council's power was broken. In its place, a new alliance was forming, one built not on exploitation, but on protection. The Deathworlders had found their true purpose in the galaxy. And this was only the beginning. 1 month after the Battle of the Silk Nebula, Captain Stone stood in the Great Hall of the reformed Galactic Council. The room was different now. The ornate chairs of the old council members replaced by seats that could accommodate species of all sizes and gravitational preferences. Most importantly, there were new faces at the table. The evidence is undeniable. The new council leader, a towering Urson, announced to the gathered representatives. 6 former council members have been found guilty of organizing genocide for profit. Their sentences will be served in high-gravity prison facilities. Stone watched as Kate Miller presented the final pieces of evidence they had gathered. The data crystals from the Overseer's ship had led them to hidden accounts, secret facilities, and eventually to the rescue of 4 more endangered species that had been marked for harvesting. We now turn to the matter of reformation. The leader continued. The Deathworlder Protection Alliance has submitted their proposal. Stone stepped forward. This was the real victory. Not the battle they had won, but the peace they would build. We propose a new system, he began. Every high-gravity species will partner with lower-gravity worlds in their sector. We will serve as protectors, not rulers, as shields, not weapons. The Gossamer representative, floating in a specially designed low-G field, glowed with patterns of agreement. Their cities were being rebuilt, stronger than before, with defensive systems designed by Engineer Wells that used their natural crystalline structures as power sources. The Draconid fleet has already begun training missions, their captain announced, teaching defense techniques that work in low-gravity environments. The Council ships we captured are being reformed into a refugee rescue fleet. Emma stood next to Stone, her scientific data displaying on the Great Hall's screens. We've also discovered that many low-G species have abilities we never imagined. The Gossamer's light-focusing technology has revolutionized our understanding of gravity manipulation. By working together, we all grow stronger. The leader nodded approvingly. And what of the human fleet that started all this? Stone smiled. The UES Thunderchild and her sister ships will remain in the Silk Nebula, establishing Earth's first permanent protection force. Other human ships are already heading to different sectors, ready to help wherever they're needed. Lieutenant Brooks, now promoted to commander, stepped up with the final report. The word is spreading across the galaxy. 2 more Deathworlder species have joined our alliance, and 3 previously unknown low-G civilizations have come out of hiding, asking for protection. Protection they shall have, the leader declared. From this day forward, any attack on a low-gravity species will be considered an attack on all of us. The strong will protect the vulnerable. This is the new law of the galaxy. Stone looked around the hall. The old council had seen Deathworlders as barbarians, too aggressive to be trusted with power. They had never understood that true strength wasn't about domination, it was about protection. The Gossamer representative floated forward, their light patterns forming words in the air. We once feared the strong. Now we understand that evolution creates different kinds of strength. Ours is the strength of beauty and innovation. Yours is the strength of protection. Together, we are complete. As the new council session ended, Stone walked with his crew back to their ship. The Thunderchild waited in orbit, her hull bearing fresh marks from the battle, but also new symbols, the combined insignia of the Deathworlder Protection Alliance. Did you ever think? Emma asked as they prepared to board. That being from a death world would turn out to be exactly what the galaxy needed. Stone looked out at the stars, knowing that somewhere out there, other ships were starting the same mission. Finding those who needed protection, offering strength to those who had none, building a galaxy where evolution's gifts were used to help rather than harm. Maybe, he said, that's why we evolved this way in the first place. Not just to survive our own worlds, but to help others survive theirs. The Thunderchild's engines hummed to life, ready to return to their patrol of the Silk Nebula. In the great hall behind them, representatives of 100 worlds continued building their new future. And in the nebula's glowing gases, the gossamer cities shone like beacons, their light a reminder that in a galaxy full of different kinds of strength, the greatest strength of all was using your power to protect others.